Opposites. One of the major thematic motifs throughout all of One Piece. We have the sun and moon. We have different creeds. We have this guy, and that guy, and that guy, and this guy. Oda himself has always said that he wanted to write a story that connected the past with the present or the future. And the concepts of past and future are about to be totally synthesized in a way that only One Piece can truly pull off. Hello, humans of the world. I'm Dawn of the World. Welcome aboard. I've just gotten back from seeing film Red and... but I'll save that for another time. Let's talk about chapter 1065. We open up on Zoro and Brook, who, as you may remember last chapter, opted to stay aboard the Sunny. As to where I was last chapter, I'm gonna put a timestamp here as to if you want to skip it, because I'm about to go on a whole tangent. So I did outline this on Twitter, but last chapter, that weekend, I had to go up the coast a couple of cities. I needed to go to a memorial for a friend of mine, and once I came back here, it was past the point when I would want to put out a chapter review, and between that whole thing and still not having my studio set up, I felt pretty demotivated to do anything at all. I haven't been able to pre-record any videos, so I didn't really have anything to release in the interim, but I am working on that now. The content on this channel this year has been pretty sporadic, in a word, and YouTube doesn't like that, but this year's nearly over and things are changing up, and I just wanted to say that I really appreciate you guys. To all of you who follow this channel, and I especially want to shout out to all of those people who even leave comments regularly, like Ricky, Ziwi, Mr. S, Amiri, Bal, Sashin. There's so many of you that I can't even list, and there's loads more of you as well who don't even leave comments, but I appreciate you too. I see you there. But yeah, I just wanted to be upfront with you guys, let you know what's happening, and talk to you like a real person for a bit. Anyway, back to the start of chapter 1065 with Zoro and Brook. I love how these two are just sitting there having tea together. Look at that little table. This is just another one of those underrated Straw Hat dynamics. The two swordsmen. They have very different fighting styles, but there's this really deep mutual respect. The Brotherhood of the Blade. We also love Brook in a casual outfit, like, oh yes, serve my sweet bone man. So it turns out that Karibo wasn't really sneaking in and stowing away amongst the Straw Hats so much as he was being smuggled out of Wano by the Straw Hats. In return, I guess, for him having helped Luffy. This has effectively covered up a number of the plot holes that people were pointing out. That being that, how is Karibo able to sneak aboard the Sunny with so many adept observational haki users? The answer? We pretend we do not see it. It being Karibo. So Karibo's presence on the Sunny was a mutual agreement, on the condition that as soon as they met the next dry land, Karibo would be relinquished. Free like a coyote into the wild. Unbeknownst to anyone, however, this would be on a government island, aka Destination Fucked. Karibo will again have a role to play in this arc going forward. Maybe he will end up joining the crew after all. I'd hate that. And I have to say, I don't often simp for conventional characters, but Zoro looks really cute in this panel. I am moving along, because we're on an escalator. Does that joke work? I don't know if it works. It gave me so much joy to see Nami and Usopp getting so excited about something that's such a normal thing for us. I mean, this is essentially an escalator, right? But they've never seen anything like it before, and it's given me this kind of flashback of sorts to Water 7 when they first encountered the sea train, and they were like, what manner of creature is this? And then it dawns on us viewers, wait, these guys don't know what a train is. So while Usopp and Nami are caught up in the flashiness of something that we'd consider part of our everyday lives, Frankie, of course, wants to dig a little deeper. As a man of technological culture and intellect, he wants to know how it's all powered, to which Lilith gives the somewhat cryptic response that the island runs on fire. When Frankie questions her further, she voices her longing for an eternal flame in order to make their very own sun. This takes me back to what we talked about a few chapters back, that Vegapunk seems to have a fundamental shortage of money and resources. As we see with Atlas's proclamation of endless ideas and not enough resources, and Lilith revealing that they always run out of research funds. But with an eternal flame or a sun, they'd never have to worry about spending money on the immense amount of energy it would take to run such a place. And they'd be able to expand any project without limit. Also, there is that whole thing with the sun being very important in One Piece, especially considering the recently revealed truth about Luffy's devil fruit, and especially given the fact facts and evidence we already have for Vegapunk experimenting with devil fruits and their abilities. For one thing, there's inanimate objects gaining abilities and artificial functioning devil fruits. For another, there's whatever's up with the seraphims. Nami and Usopp are hilarious and iconic as always. I really liked this little interaction. Nami adding future as a prefix to everything is so fun. Just being a weird little woman, I love that for her. And then, no joke, for like the second chapter in a row, I was like, oh, it's a little Jinbei! This, however, is very obviously a Jinbei of the seraphim variety. It literally says the word in the frame right here so that silly people like me don't go getting confused, because yes, Nami, Jinbei was actually turned into a kid, but that was last chapter. You missed it. Also notice there is a 98% up on the tank behind him, as well as Seraphim 04. So the 98% likely isn't for how fully grown he is, since a 98% fully grown Jinbei would pretty much just look like the usual Jinbei. So maybe is it for his battery charge, like a phone? Is this how full of power he is right now? Do seraphims need to be charged? I mean, maybe they do, because it is noted by Lilith later in the chapter that seraphims are very expensive to have and to run. Yet again, we have a resources and money issue. And charging them probably takes up a lot of energy, which is resources, which is money. And if only we had an unlimited supply of energy like a goddamn sun to power this place so we wouldn't have to use all the other resources, like money on getting this job done. Jeez, I'm kind of starting to see where the Vegapunks are coming from, especially my girl Lilith. I'm connecting the pieces. So this adolescent punk Jinbei is really just ready to throw hands. He's brawling and running rampant and wild, which is a problem because my dude packs up punch. Now, what I mentioned earlier about Vegapunk experimenting with devil fruits, their abilities, and what's up with the seraphims, I was also kind of referring to this part here. This adolescent punk Jinbei goes for a swim, which usually wouldn't sound anything out of the ordinary with him being a fisherman and all, but he's not swimming through the water, he's swimming through the ground. And before we can even so much as think, hey, didn't I see a baby man with a heartbreaking backstory do this once? We have Frankie confirm that this is the ability, the same devil fruit ability as what Senior Pink had back in Dressrosa. This obviously raises a few immediate questions, but worry not. I think that wherever he is right now, Senior Pink is fine, alive, and unharmed. What we see here may well be in the same way that Vegapunk created an artificial dragon fruit that is used and exists at the same time as the natural dragon fruit. He's also created an artificial swim fruit that can be used and exists at the same time as the original, and he has subsequently fed this to one of his seraphims, that being the one of the Jinbei variety. It also makes me wonder, especially seeing as this is a fishman seraphim, if having eaten a devil fruit would have any effect on their ability to swim. Like, does their seraphimness bypass this effect? Alternatively, has something funky been done with the lineage factor of the seraphims that grants them devil fruit-like abilities without ever having actually eaten the fruit itself? And the thing is that if this has been done with the swim fruit, it's also been done with some of the other fruits. Bearing in mind as well that Lilith yearns for an eternal flame or an actual sun, and there's a certain fruit out there that we've recently learned denotes the sun god, and we don't know the full extent as to what that entails. Anyway, as much as Punk Jinbei is willing to throw hands at this point, the gathered Straw Hats are equally as willing to throw hands right back and are real ride or dies. Of course, Sanji goes wild defensive when Nami's attacked, but he's also quick to help out Usopp. And the way that Robin's been written these past couple of arcs, oh yes, she will wreck anyone who messes with her crewmates. I loved seeing each of the Straw Hats jump to the other's aid. Also, the way that Usopp knows it's not the real Jinbei, but he still feels bad about it. Honey, this is a ground swimming punk Jinbei. He's here to wreck your shit. It's okay. If the real Jinbei were here, he'd walk up to the seraphim, he'd remove his sandal, and he would kick his own ass. And worth noting is this Frankie beam is the one attack amongst the Straw Hats that takes the Vegapunks by surprise, which makes sense since Frankie was inspired by some of their technologies for his current body, and he's likely going to be very significant this arc. We get our first look at Edison here. He's a weird funky little guy, and the kanji on his suit means concept or thought, which makes sense since he seems to be filled with countless ideas, more than what their resources can keep up with. He says how how Punk Jinbei is still considered just a kid, and I feel as though there's some implications that the Seraphims definitely grow at a much faster rate, and he will be an adult before too long. Lilith then materializes, taking Edison by surprise, and leading into this really interesting sequence wherein the Vegapunks seem to be simultaneously a hive mind body, but also independent in personality and thought. We see a clash of extremities with Lilith and Edison. We also saw a clash between Lilith and Shaka earlier, with Edison saying that he wouldn't go as far as Lilith. Don't you think that's a bit too evil, he asks, when evil is Lilith's theme. But at the same time, Edison's ideas seem to be channeled and shared to Pythagoras, who notes them down for him. It's like they're different devices with different personalities, but they're all on the same operating system, if that makes sense. Like my laptop, my phone, and my hypothetical tablet. Those are 3 different devices I've personalized in different ways. They do 3 different things, but they're all linked through my Google apps. I can write something in Google Docs on my laptop, and then I can access it through my phone. Does this metaphor make sense to anyone else? The kanji on Pythagoras' outfit is wisdom, by the way, just like his theme. And based on what he's saying here, that Edison's idea is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, this idea that Edison came up with after seeing the Frankie beam and arguing with Lilith could be significant later on, and it may have been inspired by Frankie in some way, which is pretty cool because Frankie's been so inspired by Vegapunk up until this point. Also, there's a cat! Anyway, to go back on the Vegapunks being a hive something or other, where we saw this in a mental capacity with a cloud-like sharing between Edison and Pythagoras, we also and bizarrely get this in a physical sense with the introduction of York, where Pythagoras seems to specialize in making sure that all of Vegapunk's various thoughts and ideas are noted down. York seems to take care of all of the Vegapunk's physical bodily functions and needs. Snacking, dumping, and napping, enough for the others so that they need not waste time on such things. She's got it pretty good if you ask me. Coming up on the end of the chapter here now, Shaka makes his appearance to the crew, and he gives us this shocking revelation that Egghead Island is actually an island of the past. Honestly, this chapter breakdown has gone on for a while now, and almost everything else I have to say is a theory, so I'm actually going to be making a second video. I strongly believe that Egghead Island is actually a place we've heard of before, but not by that name. I'll unpack all of that and some other thoughts in probably my next video, because I probably should leave this here for now. Also, because I don't think I mentioned this enough, but I love Usopp so much. Never change, my man. So let me know what you guys thought of the chapter. Don't forget to follow and switch on alerts so that you guys can be updated when I do drop that theory video. I'm Dawn of the World, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.